Calls is a play that Priestley wrote to force his audience to change. Now, if there's any character within this play that most exemplifies this and that most changes out of all of the characters, it is Sheila Birling's character. In fact, Sheila Birling, you can make the argument that she arguably transforms the most and changes the most out of all of the characters in the play. And that's probably why she is such a popular character question when it comes to GCSE mock exams, but also the GCSE final exams. She is a very popular character that teachers often choose to test students' knowledge on. And ultimately, also examiners do that because she exemplifies Priestley's message of change. So let's say Sheila Birling is the character question that you get for an Inspector Calls. What could you write about when it comes to her characters that not only are they heavy hitting points, but you're going beyond just talking about Sheila is somebody who's really naive and later she leaves Gerald Croft. That shows that she realizes she needs to leave Gerald Croft. Lots of people in the writing about Sheila Birling's character is they make very surface basic points about her that just basically state the obvious. If you want to write a really solid essay on Sheila Birling's character that goes beyond just writing these basic points, you need to show a level of awareness and perception, and this is exactly what I'm going to show you in terms of the 3 main points you should be writing in any essay about Sheila Birling's character. These are the 3 top points. Once you write, once you internalize, and once you are able to synthesize all of this information, you end up doing super well on Inspector Calls. Now, if you get a Sheila Birling character question, begin by contrasting how she is presented to us at the start of the play versus how she transforms at the end. And pro tip, you can actually begin by talking about how she's shown at the beginning. Then during Act 1, how we can see a moral awakening with her when she starts criticizing her father. And then there's this dramatic shift by the end that we see. The moment you start contrasting and moving between how Sheila is at first and how she changes, contrasting beginning versus the end or end versus beginning, already you are showing lots of sophistication in your analysis, in your essay, and also you are moving beyond just simply describing Sheila and saying the obvious. This is how you do so, and these are quotations you use when writing about her. So of course, your first winning point, your first grade 9 point in Sheila Birling essay, in your Sheila Birling essay, is if you talk about how at the beginning she is portrayed as extremely naive, very sheltered and almost childlike. She, for example, in the stage directions is described as a pretty girl in her 20s. We're also told she uses language which is kind of childish, like she calls her mother mummy. And we start to see that she moves from being quite selfish, very self-centered and quite naive, to actually developing a moral awakening when her father refers to Eva Smith's character as cheap labor, and she's immediately critical of him, and she says, and this is in Act 1, these girls aren't cheap labor, they are people. We start seeing that she develops this moral awakening and she starts understanding the actions and the impact of the actions of people in her class on the poor working classes and on individuals like Eva Smith and Daisy Renton. And of course, by the end, this quotation where she is absolutely disgusted at her family's refusal to change, especially her 2 parents, and they are so happy by Act 3 when they realize that the inspector was not a real person because they can now completely cover up all their actions. She actually says that they don't seem to have learned anything. What does this demonstrate with Sheila Birling's character? She is the character that demonstrates really massively growing moral awareness, but also she is the character who Priestley wants to use to exemplify how upper middle class people and upper class people can not only recognize the moral duty in terms of how to treat the working classes and how to help them, how to make them become more equal in society, but also she exemplifies how people of the younger generation can use their power to inspire social change. That's your first winning point. And by the way, I've actually put this together in a Substack, okay? So what I've decided is every single week, and to be honest, fairly regularly during the week, I always post on Substack lots of freebies, lots of free posts to do with different essay structures you can use. And also at times I even post free model answers that you can download. So if you actually want this in something that you can download and you can use and go back to over and over again, just simply go to Substack and you'll find this plus lots of other Inspector Calls posts that I've put up there for free. Now, number 2, the second point to make when it comes to your winning Sheila Birling essay is when she faces the harsh truths of her action. So of course, Inspector Gore comes in and his line of reasoning starts with Mr. Birling, and then he turns to Sheila and makes her recognize the role that she played in not only having Eva fired from Millwards, but this steady descent that Eva experienced after being fired from Millwards and then ended up becoming a prostitute. But Sheila, rather than being like her father who's like, oh well, I'm justified because of this and that, actually she internalizes that message and accepts the role that she played, and she faces these hard truths. And this demonstrates how her integrity contrasts her parents' lack of integrity and their denial. And this is highlighted in the quotation where she admits, I behaved badly, ellipsis, I'm ashamed. We can see that Sheila really develops a strong sense of moral integrity. Now, by the way, if you're looking at this and you're like, okay, this is really helpful, how does this look like in a grade 9 essay? How can I synthesize all of this? In fact, I know what Inspector Calls is about, but actually I always fail when it comes to writing really solid essays, guys. During October half-term week, this is on the 27th of October all the way to the 2nd of November, I'm going to be running a series of one-off GCSE literature classes, and on the 29th of October, I'm going to have my one-off Inspector Calls masterclass. It's a live lesson. You can ask me as many questions as you want, and I'll be answering 2 questions, and my students who join in that will get 2 grade 9 model answers that they can use and revise, not only for the mock exams, but for the final GCSE exams, plus cheat sheets and all of that stuff. So of course, you're more than welcome to join in. Now, the third and final point with Sheila's character and what to write in any winning Sheila Birling essay is how she conveys Priestley's feminist message. This is such an important context point that goes over a lot of students' heads, and they even forget that Priestley, not only was he conveying a socialist message, but Priestley was also conveying a feminist message. Now, before you roll your eyes and you're like, oh gosh, okay, feminists, the people who don't shave their legs and hate all men. No, that's not what feminism means. Feminism is simply the idea that women deserve to be treated the same as men. Women deserve the same rights as men. If you believe that women should be treated the same as men, that makes you a feminist. And Priestley was a man ahead of his time. Remember that this play was staged in 1945 after the Second World War, and he was using Inspector Gore as his mouthpiece to also defend the women in the play, specifically Eva Smith, because Inspector Gore gives her a voice where she would have otherwise had no voice, but also he stands up for Sheila when he says, this is Inspector Gore's own words, okay? He tells Mr. Birling, your daughter isn't living on the moon. Now, this is when Mr. Birling and Gerald Croft, before Gerald has his confession, they're trying to shoo Sheila out of the room, and they're treating Sheila like an infant. And actually, Inspector Gore is trying to show to the Birling family, and of course by extension to us as the audience, that actually women are intelligent and they can be quite powerful. And also this power is shown in Sheila at the end when actually she calls engagement off to Gerald, and she says that you and I aren't the same people that sat down to dinner that night. Again, remember that when you're writing any essay about Sheila Birling's character, the moment you start talking about how she conveys this feminist message that Priestley was also trying to show, you are going to be remembering a key context point that 95 to 99% of students who are writing about Inspector Calls never even consider or even write about. So that's really it when it comes to how to write a perfect essay on Sheila Birling's character.